right. Good evening, Littleton. This is the Charter Committee on December 1st, hard to believe. And we're going to start out with talking with some of our esteemed representatives from the Finance Committee tonight as we start talking about the section in finance. In the draft charter, there's a finance section, a finance committee section, and then a financial procedure section. So we'll look at those. I see some of the other town charters have a finance section that includes them both, which seems more logical to me, but it doesn't make that much difference. We'll figure that out going forward. Right now, we're going after content anyway. After the Finance Committee, we'll go through some more of the Charter Committee documents. Thank you, Charlotte, very much for doing that legwork on that research and updating that document. It was very helpful. Yep. And turn that off. And then public input, if we have any, and got some minutes, and about next meeting dates and so on. So most of it's going to be Finance Committee in the document tonight. So without any further ado, welcome to Steve Venuti, Fred Faulkner from the Finance Committee. We have sent out to them the standard wording that's in the document, and then Steve and Fred have provided to us some wording from the finance, what's it called, the ATFC, which is basically the state finance committees, right? I'm not sure what that stands for, but.
Association of Town Finance Committees.
Okay, what do you know? Who would have thought? Okay, and which has a little bit different take on things, and so I'll let, you guys want to just start and talk about where you think things are or should be, and we go from there, or?
Sure.
I guess
So
we.
I have what you sent.
Yeah, okay, yep.
So Article 7, Finance Committee.
Yeah,
Let's start there.
sure, let's do that. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
You guys are way ahead of me. And the page numbers, oh yeah, we don't have page numbers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No page numbers.
Okay, yep,
So composition of the Finance Committee,
yeah.
7 members appointed by the different boards. I know that's, and it even says it here, it's kind of unique to Littleton.
Mm-hmm.
Most towns have it all appointed by the moderator, from what I understand, but I think what we have here works well. I want to put that pressure on Tim to have to get 7 people leaving.
I was going to say, sometimes it's hard to find a
To
one
find
person.
one.
Yeah.
And we're short again, we have another member leaving, so we're back down to 5. And it took us a while to get that latest number, so it's a challenge sometimes.
I saw one of the towns had in their charter that they have a committee, it's, basically it's the moderator, chair of the select board, and the chair of the finance committee, if they're not the one being appointed, and that those 3 come up with the appointments, which is an interesting breadth. But I think this works for Littleton. Their concern here was that there's somehow, you get appointed by one of these groups, and then somehow you're beholden to them and working for them. But it never, when I was on FinCom, it never felt that way.
And it shouldn't. I mean, I can tell you that, when I was first appointed to the FinCom years ago by the school committee, I was the biggest pain in the neck for years.
Really, Steve, you?
No.
Seriously?
So, yes, you're appointed by them, but you don't have the loyalty. You may meet with them to talk over their budget.
Right.
But I'm not advocating 100% for that committee. And I think all the members do that. And I can only think of one instance in all the years on FinCom where somebody was selected for a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty obvious
Yeah.
what that was at the time.
Yeah.
They stayed, but they weren't.
I spent 20 years on the Finance Committee, and I was appointed by the Assessor's Office, and the only time I ever heard from them, unless I went to talk to them about their budget, was it's time to reappoint you.
Right, so,
So,
okay, so,
It's, yeah.
I know the light department, at least with the last member that we had from the light department, they kind of required that person to go to their meetings. I don't know if that's something that they're gonna continue doing, or she just volunteered to do it, but,
I don't think there's ever been any requirement.
okay.
So they're not
Who was that?
committee members, they're appointed, they're just community members
Mhm.
selected by, okay.
Selected by those boards.
Is there a rationale as to why the Board of Assessors gets to appoint
Good
a
question.
Finance Committee member?
Well,
They're
they're-
responsible for,
They're an integral part of the finance operation. You know, they set the tax rate.
they control $50 million
Yeah.
worth of town funds, so they raise it themselves. So it's
I mean, yes and no.
pretty big responsibility.
I mean, they present, I think, last few years, they presented like 9 or 10 options, but the select board has to determine the allocation between commercial, industrial, et cetera, and residential. So it's really a select board that's
Well,
ultimately.
select board does the tax rate, but the assessors have to. I mean,
Provide all the input.
As one of the assessors, the chief assessor years ago put it, he considered himself the editor, and everybody else in finance was the paper boy, because they just collected what the editor did. You know, it's a big
To
responsibility.
each their own. I mean, I agree, I understand, they are big responsibilities,
They
100%. I agree with that. But I don't find myself particularly, because I think you made reference, school committee had a bit of a time filling the position for, it was open for months.
Mhm.
And now we're in the light and water department, open for even more months. And now with an existing member moving out of town, I think we should be, where do you think? Should it be a 7-person, group? Should it be a 5-person group? Because it does seem like there's difficulty filling.
That's only kind of been recent, the past like 2 years. Before, we've had no problems getting people on, and it's always been a 7-member committee.
So you're still
I think
for
7 members gives a good broad,
Yeah.
So you're still for 7?
Representation,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's a cross-section of the town.
I'm just
It's-
asking. Yeah, just asking.
The more opinions, I think, on FinCom, the better.
Okay,
With the multiple,
And we have 2
former.
former members right here, so.
And I agree with that. And we did have that, and there would be people coming from different camps on things. It was very, very useful, very helpful. And I do think that some of these, it's not necessarily the Board of, from my standpoint, just, whatever that means, like the Board of Assessors, whether they're there because they're important or not, it's just another way to maybe get a different pocket of people, basically. That's the way I look at it anyway.
well, that was going to be my question, sort of, is the disbursement more to do with a search and network? So you're tapping into, different pockets of people, different networks, and therefore you're actually accessing more
Getting more
candidates and
representation.
more
More representation,
representation.
which is the
Because
key part, yeah.
I guess I'd, in a sense, if the select board and the board of assessors know the same person, it doesn't, in a sense, make a difference which one's doing the appointing. But I guess my question is, does this setup mean that it is ultimately easier to fill those positions, or does it add complexity in filling those positions?
I would think it should be easy, and until recently, it's kind of been the case, but like I said, past couple of years, no matter who has the opening, it's been tough to fill.
And I think a lot of cases, it's, if there's an open spot and somebody knows a candidate, then they're probably gonna get referred to that group to, that's the case too, unless, so, especially in the current environment, I guess, but that would be my take anyway. Is there any comments on that? We good with just leaving it as it is, having the different boards across the town doing this?
Are there any
Just-
boards?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, are there any boards that feel like they wanna have a say in appointing somebody?
That's sort of my point, is why does that board, above all other boards, get to appoint someone to FinCom? And why does the town moderator get to appoint someone to FinCom? I don't get it. I don't get it, and if there is a rationale, if it's diversity of membership, I don't know that achieves the goal. I don't know why Light and Water doesn't get to appoint someone to FinCom.
Well, they
They
do.
do.
They get one.
Water doesn't though.
We do one, it's just not
Oh,
filled.
I'm sorry. Yep,
You could argue
Yep.
they could get two, but, you know,
yeah.
at the
So,
expense of who?
I just was surprised about this manner of appointment
Yeah,
when I read
it's-
it.
It's kind of random.
It's,
I don't
That
know
was
the
gonna be
history
my-
behind it.
Question, if for instance, there's an open position, and let's say for the sake of argument, the select board is, well, it's a bit of a devil's advocate
Okay.
question, because I
Right.
was just saying, like, if in reality, the process is, no matter which position is open, everybody contributes candidates, everybody sort of collaboratively puts people forward, why wouldn't it just be, everybody puts those people forward and the select board appoints them?
Well, because you could have a select board that has an agenda and they're only picking certain people.
Okay, so this is a checks and balances thing.
I would think that. You just don't want one person or one body doing, which is why I can't believe some of these towns have the town moderator do all of them. I suppose you're supposed to be
You're
impartial, but.
supposed to be, yeah.
But, I mean,
Yeah, but, no.
you are, I mean, people
No,
are
no,
people.
yeah,
I mean,
right,
people
you
are
have
people.
opinions, sure.
Right. However, the one thing I will say, though, in terms of this concept that there's maybe 3 people that do it, is that I'm not sure that appointing somebody to the finance committee is the light and water, whoever's top priority. So if it's open, it's like, yeah, we'll get to it, but is it top priority? Probably not. Whereas if somebody owned it, that we got to fill this spot, maybe they go after. That's the only thing I would say.
So I would agree with that. I think I'm more in agreement with Kevin of challenging the why. I'm not trying to say, I get the 7, wanted to hear you support that you collectively have. So done as far as I'm concerned, but maintain the 7. But I could see as we're transitioning, like the assessor, we've transitioned it to be appointed by select board. I could see putting all the appointments, much like you just said. Have recommendations come in and have select board appoint them. They're elected. I understand what I just heard a moment ago with regard to a bias or perspective, but on the other hand, they're elected. That should represent, and they're elected for terms of 3 years with incoming and outgoing, et cetera, with staggered perspectives. So I don't really see the need for this. And again, for me, only been here for 5 years, but I'm seeing experience that is not indicative of decades, but certainly indicative of my experience here. We have open positions in an important group of people.
Yeah, I really think FinCom needs to be very separate from select board. That's the main thing. Any view outside that they're together, I think is not good. And so this gives that more that they are independent.
It would be easy for no offense, but it would be easy for a finance committee member to get under the skin of a select board member, and then that person just doesn't get reappointed.
Fred?
Whereas
wouldn't it-
by
you'd have to
familiar,
get under,
Fred?
wouldn't you have to get under the,
by an independent
Little school, yeah.
board, they may, but
Right.
yes, that happens at.
Right.
would you not get under the skin of 3 select board members to the point where they colluded? And I'm not for managing against bad things being done. I think that if we're trying to get to consistent processes for a more consistent approach regarding board appointments, board tenures, the manner of selection and so forth. And anyways, I would think that if we said that the select board, what process is the Board of Electric Light and Commissioners going through to pick somebody? What process is the moderator going through to pick somebody? What process is the Board of Assessors going through to pick someone? My buddy, I'm going to pick my next door neighbor. Is that okay?
Sure.
So I just don't understand.
He's got a good point. I guess, it has worked, and so I'm very comfortable
I
with it,
get
but-
that.
How does that go away with the select board picking?
I trust the select board. 5 people elected by the people of the town to do the right thing. They can be taken out of office if they do the wrong thing. I trust them. I presume that they will have a good process, a robust, public, visible, transparent process for selecting someone.
So I
I'm
know-
not sure
I know
that's-
the school committee does, they have, and
I get it.
I'm not certain with the light and water.
The school
Process.
committee is a separately functioning entity within the town. They do their own thing, and for them to have a designated right to appoint people to I get that.
So what's different between the school department and light and water or the assessor?
I get the light and water, I don't get the Board of Assessors. And I would actually,
Mark?
So I think if the Board of Assessors is appointed, you might want to change it whether the Board of Assessors still get, because then an appointed board's appointed, but while they're elected, it kind of makes sense. I mean, they're the ones involved in the weeds and a lot of the tax stuff, right? So you basically, the way it's set up now, outside of the moderator, which I agree, I don't really understand why the moderator has an appointment.
right,
The other ones are all representative of a specific financial interest in town. So it's well distributed among those financial interests. So,
And that's to the question I asked earlier, are there other boards or committees that feel like they should have a say in who gets on the finance committee? That are underrepresented or not
Well,
represented?
I would question what Mark just said. Light commissioners, this says the electric light commissioners have a say in the finance committee. We have no control over their budget.
I was gonna
At all.
say, and that's a totally separate entity. I don't understand why
Right.
they're on here. We spent not hours, but several sessions going through there completely separate, and yet,
Well, water department, we do.
Good point.
Water department you do though, not like, but you do it with the water department.
We do the budget for them, yeah.
Right.
Well,
I didn't expect this discussion, so this is interesting.
I'm curious what,
This is
what
one of
Jim
these
has
things
to
that I didn't
say.
expect to be spending time on this, so this is
but
interesting.
it's random.
I think the system has worked well. I like the diversity among appointments.
Yep.
I like keeping
They put, you know,
the select board and the finance committee as far apart from each other as possible. They get 2 appointments now, that's good enough. I would like to, it ain't broke, so let's don't fix it.
it's worked since 1938, right?
Yes, at least.
Yeah.
It's
as
interesting, it
we've
does
said
say
to
by
other
the
people, we're
electric.
not fixing
We've been
things.
doing it
We're not
forever.
fixing things here. We're not nothing's broke, we're not fixing things. We're figuring out the right way to do things going forward, not because they're broke, because the town is morphing and changing
Yeah.
and growing.
The default can't be, that's the way it's always been.
So
I mean,
just because it didn't malfunction doesn't mean we shouldn't question it going forward, in my opinion. But
I think there's good things about the way it is, honestly. We're different than other towns, but I kind of like the fact that people are coming from different areas. Other people, but my opinion.
I'm curious what the rationale is for the moderator's appointment, because the other ones, we feel like we've heard good kind of, arguments on either side or whatever, but yeah,
Well, I can only presume when they put the bylaw in, they wanted broad representation from the select board, from the schools, and the light department's always been a big entity in town. The assessors, I can't really speak to that. And the moderator is perceived as a neutral party, so that, would be the 7th member of the board, so you'd have an odd number of members. And, as Betsy said, most towns, the moderator appoints them all. And, I don't know that I don't think we should change things just for the sake of changing things either. I mean, we're making a lot of changes in this charter. And, I kind of feel like, picking my battles. This is not like something that's, grossly out of whack, so why do we have to
As
change
long as we
it?
can rationalize it,
Yeah,
and explain
yeah,
why
well-
we're keeping it, if we choose to keep it.
Well, as Steve said, nobody's particularly beholden to who appointed them. In fact, it's quite the opposite, right? I mean, it's,
No, and, I mean, the standard speech that every new member gets when they join the finance committee, and Betsy will tell you, she can probably give it to you verbatim, but basically leave your allegiance to the appointing board at the door.
Mhm.
Your allegiance is to the taxpayer of the town. And the Finance Committee's role is to put together and present a balanced budget that we can defend on town meeting floor. And that's the way we've run it for a long time.
Our newest member is from this, appointed by the school committee, and that's exactly the message that Fred and I give.
Mhm.
And we've done it with every single member that's come on.
Right. And even if people come maybe with a bias toward, schools or, something else, I mean, once they go through the budget process, it's a real eye-opener. How it all fits together.
Very good example.
Yeah,
Brian Tarbox, he's
right.
announced that he's leaving, so it would be short a member. But he came on board as a advocate for the school department, and he was appointed by the school committee. And he came in guns a-blazing, defending the school budget, until he went through that first budget process and saw that, hey, there's a lot of other things in this town besides the schools. And he realized that pretty quickly. And he's been a great member since then, so we're gonna miss him. Yep.
Has this ever been an elected board at any point in time?
Finance committee?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think we
Like,
are.
that's
either.
another way
That's
to
not
get
I
broad
think,
representation.
the bylaw came in when the town appointed its first finance committee in the late 30s or something like that, so it's always been this way, yeah.
Well,
That first one, right?
Right.
I was born that year.
So you weren't on the finance committee then?
I guess, do we
was appointed.
move along the
That's
discussion?
how long it's been going
Continue
this
the
way, guys.
deliberation?
I'm good.
okay.
I'm good.
I move we keep it as is, except I would like to change to say one member by the electric light, that should say, I think, the water commission rather than the light department.
Oh, that's a
Anybody
good
disagree
thought.
with that?
No, that's a
Nope.
good point.
The water commissioners, not the water department.
What is it, water commissioners?
So one member by the water commissioners.
Yep.
There's,
Replacing
which
electric
which
light.
body? What body is that? There's two bodies, right? There's a,
And there-
The water.
Water and
Water and
electric.
sewer?
I don't know, isn't there
Water,
electric?
well, that's what I'm saying, this just specifically says light department, but really, they're very
Light.
separate, so it makes more sense for it to, it'll end up being the same person, but it makes more sense for it to say
They're
water.
not very separate.
I know,
They act as one body.
yes, they
but-
do, but they have separate budgets and things like that, so,
So sorry, Betsy, you're saying one member by the water commissioners.
yes.
Strike electric light.
Okay.
Is it Board of Water Commissioners? Yes? Okay. Mark?
My only if you're making the assessors an appointed board, I don't know if you want to still leave them as having appointed.
That's true.
Just because then it's an appointed board appointing another board. But I like this model, and I also think it's a good model to use if you're going to do the assessors, to make them appointed, to have them appointed versus elected, so that the politics are spread out.
Interesting.
Who would you have as a committee that would replace him?
Hmm?
Who would you have?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is there another board that has significant financial?
It has to be elected, apparently, so.
Well, we still have planning is elected,
Library.
still have planning
Park
is
and Rec.
elected, but is that really their role to start deliberating on finding a finance member?
Hopefully, it would only be once every however many years.
But even so,
In
we're,
Ellen's case, 20 years, in Fred's case, 30 or 40. We need more of those people, come in and stay for a long time.
I mean, if you were to remove, let's say you were to remove the Board of Assessors from the group, in order just to make that a little bit simpler, you could just give their appointment to, let's say, the moderator, to a sort of neutral
Good.
party. Like if you wanted to, simplify it down a little bit further versus adding another board. Because like my sense is if you did add another board, then it really would open it up to like, well, why them, not another?
Is this a
We
typo?
don't have that many elected boards anymore, what's that?
There's only one member for a school committee, not
Two
two.
by the
Oh, you're
moderator.
right.
What's that?
This thing says two members from the school committee, it's only one.
That's two.
No, there's
It was
two.
two.
Is there two?
Four, five, six.
Yeah, that was changed in the 1980s,
Two for summer.
when it was a five-member board.
Oh, okay.
Every board
So there
had,
was change
every board had one appointee.
40 years ago.
And because several of us were traveling like crazy, we couldn't get a consistent quorum. So Tom Todd came up with the plan to move us up to a seven-person board. And that's when they bumped the schools and the select board up to two members.
That just shows you how that nobody has allegiance to anything in particular, because I didn't know there was two school committee members on there, so.
Well, there aren't that many other elected boards. Well, Board of Health, I guess there is, Board of Library, Park and Rec, are they on here? They're not on here, right?
Park and Rec, but
Park and Rec, yeah, that doesn't, right, Board of Health,
who are we thinking about?
Planning Board. Well, I'm just looking to say, if we say we want from an elected board, who would it be? There aren't that many.
I wouldn't add another board. I would add one to the moderator.
You would do it that way? Everybody agree with that? Certainly make it simpler in terms of picking one, because otherwise you have a whole process for why this group and not that group, I'd say.
And do those processes have to be defined or spelled out?
What?
How, say, Tim goes around?
Not in the charter, they don't.
No, I know, but
Right, yep.
hopefully somewhere.
Well, the boards presumably, interview candidates during an open session, or maybe the individual members do it. I mean, I'm not a board, I'm one person, so I informally interview
Still talking to
candidates.
people, you're talking to
Yeah,
me, talking to
and
people.
or more than one or two, until you can find somebody that's willing to do it. I mean, it's a commitment, and, unless people know what they're getting into, they're sometimes reluctant, so.
Is there a townwide policy for appointments? Like, is that something that we would want to make a recommendation for? That there's at least a bare minimum of things that one needs to do if you are appointing to a board? Because it seems like right now, we would be relying on the professionalism and the goodwill and the sort of trust of these certain, for instance, the moderator to go through a proper rigorous process like you're describing, but without any guidance on that. Like you said, it could then just be like picking your buddy, right?
I think most of the appointed positions are the select board.
Right,
Or
but if
they're
they're not-
ex officio and they're just, because that you're in the role, you're on the board.
Right. But I was just wondering if
Yeah.
if it's not, is there any existing policy on how to make an appointment?
The select board has a policy on, there's an application in the policy. I think there's only two boards that have members that aren't appointed by the select board. One is the finance committee and the other is Affordable Housing Trust. The other boards, if they have an appointment, is one of their own that are sitting on the board.
So, for instance, theoretically, the Board of Assessors doesn't have any particular policy that they're adhering to when they appoint somebody. Like a written down policy, I guess is what I mean.
Not that I'm aware
No.
of.
Okay.
Who wrote this, and who wrote, Mel, this language is unique to Littleton in most town meeting, who wrote it? So in most towns, the town moderator has the unilateral, unquestioned ability to appoint all FinCom members, is that right?
Yep.
I would say most of the finance committees I've seen are like that.
No,
So we're good.
Took a lot better than
Why he gets the big ones.
That's right.
I think the reason,
Go ahead, listen, go ahead, Mel.
Mel.
I think the justification is that the town moderator is an elected, effectively an elected officer of the town meeting. They're running the town meeting, and so since the finance committee reports to town meeting, I think that's the idea of having the town moderator, as Tim mentioned, it's generally a neutral party. But Collins is not recommending you change anything. If it works, it works. If you want to change it, that's fine. I think we're more concerned about, any of the duties and the budget responsibilities and so on.
So we leave it, but we're gonna give two to the moderator and get rid of the Board of Assessors, or leave the Board of Assessors and,
Well, if we appoint the Board of Assessors, then
Yeah.
I would recommend removing them
Yeah.
from this,
Assuming
the
that
composition
lives.
of the Finance Committee.
As like you said, if you want to keep the select board and the FinCom as far away as possible, then the Board of Assessors
think that's just
position
one more.
doesn't make sense anymore. 'Cause you've just
You
got
allude
that
to another-
direct line.
okay.
You allude to another alternative, and that's to keep the Board of Assessors elected.
Could,
Technically, yeah.
but I wouldn't,
I think
that's not my
Jimmy,
position, but you could.
One thing to consider with the Board of Assessors is they do have major influence on the finances of the town through the assessing process and how they manage that. And going forward, the impact of 550 King Street on this town is going to be absolutely immense. So having them have an appointee, personally, I do think makes sense because of the financial impact they do have on the activities in the town.
Even if they're appointed by the Select Board instead of elected?
I'm sorry.
Even if they are appointed by the Select Board instead of elected?
I-
Who is their appointment now? Who do they have? That's you?
On the other hand,
Can't get good help these days, huh?
I assume it would be too big of a role to say someone from the Board of Assessors must sit on the Finance Committee board. Is that too much work for one person? In a volunteer
Keep
basis?
in mind, that's the group that doesn't care to pull papers and gets elected by 7 write-in votes, so.
Which is, and the other reason
No,
is the
thank you.
expert, and the other piece is the expertise needed to do the assessment, or do the assessing, which is why we moved that to appointed. But then, if they do play such an outsized role, if we make one of those positions ex officio, so it must be represented by one member of.
Yeah, you just need someone who's really committed to be on the Finance
Well,
Committee.
That's
go
what
to
I
the Finance
mean.
Committee, and you really don't
It's a
want
big
them
role.
to be on the Board of Assessors, because now they've got a vested interest in that, and that's not what you want.
That would be in violation of section 7.3.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
so we won't do
Other than
that.
that, it's a great idea. No, it's good. I mean, obviously, it's good, and it suggests everything. That's
The influence piece, I think, could go both ways. There's a sort of argument that if they have that important role to play as the Board of Assessors, then they would want a say in FinCom composition. But there's also an argument to say that because they have so much influence, maybe, and they are appointed, that they shouldn't be appointing somebody, but there should be another mechanism to engage. Because if we're saying that the Board of Assessors appointee doesn't really have any loyalty or is in no way beholden, then the Board of Assessors' importance, influence, like investment, whatever, isn't actually related to their appointee anyway. We're saying that that is not the way that they have
You
influence.
could say that against any. you could
Right,
say that against the
right.
school department.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying that the argument that because the Board of Assessors is so important, they should have an appointee, I'm not sure that's the best argument for why they should maintain an appointee. Maybe there's a different argument for them being influential and, they obviously play a huge role in town. But I'm not sure that that would diminish, I guess is what I'm saying, is if they didn't have an appointee, would it diminish that role? And I don't know that it would.
Okay, let me ask, I'm gonna go after another tack here, and we really do need to move this along, but we also have to, again, you never know what's gonna come up, it's being taken a lot of time, but this is kind of an important thing. FinCom's got a very important role in this town, I think. So in this other model I saw, where they have this committee of a moderator, select board, and the finance committee chair, and they review the appointments or make the appointments. So in that case, the finance committee chair has a say in terms of this person's qualified or not, basically, right? Is that something you would see as good, to have something like that, or not?
That's the model that they have in Groton.
Yeah.
It's probably where I stole it.
Yeah, that,
Actually, I don't mean to interrupt, question went to you, but I'm gonna,
Yep.
I actually believe that has some merit. I was thinking about that later when we were talking about who, if we removed the Board of Assessors, who might we replace with? I'm thinking, how about the members of the FinCom FinCom? Wouldn't they have a perspective and an informed one on the matter? So I think your idea has some merit about involving the FinCom in the selection of their next member,
Does
as either procedurally or process-wise.
Does that get down to the double appointment thing that we were talking about with the assessors? Appointed people appointing? Do we care? I don't know.
well,
I'm not sure the nature of,
the FinCom member represents town meeting, the citizens, as opposed to a particular department.
And they're not appointed
So
by the
I-
select board, right, well, a couple of them
Yeah,
are, but
right.
as a whole, they're not, yeah. That's what's different, it's a good point, but I think it's
If we're
different.
gonna change, I could certainly appoint, go along with that change. And I would like us to move along at some point. I think
Yep,
got other stuff to do.
yep,
what, is this not a worthy discussion?
Okay, let's continue. I'm just concerned about 40 minutes on one single
As am
item.
I. But is this not, so we should shut the discussion down because the clock is ticking?
Only to come back and contemplate. I agree with Betsy. I don't think any of us came in thinking that we were gonna spend 40 minutes on this part as opposed to
So-
listen to these two people who are here. We can deliberate. I just question whether this is a great use of their time.
Oh, okay. I thought Betsy just put something on the table that's worthy of discussion. But it's,
I'm done fencing. No, thank you. So if you want to continue, please continue.
I'm of the opinion
yes,
to leave it the way it is. It's worked since 1938. I have no problems with it. I don't believe Fred does either. I have no, I don't know about your appointed and elected things, and you, I guess, determined that the Board of Assessors are appointed now and not
well, that's
elected.
gonna be the proposal at this point.
I still believe that the assessors, no matter who they are appointed by or elected, have considerable leverage financially in this town. And they should have a say in who's on the finance committee. That's just my opinion, that's all. But I'm biased since they appointed me. Full disclosure.
I guess
And I
I'm
agree.
struggling with both.
As you well know.
There's two arguments that are happening here. One argument is, well, this committee is really important in town, and so they should have representation on the finance committee. But then I hear, but if you're on the finance committee, it doesn't matter who you appointed, or who appointed you, you should be completely unbiased. So how can
I
two,
agree.
so if you're completely unbiased, then what does it matter who appoints you? If you're supposed to be completely unbiased?
Well, hopefully they're appointing somebody who has some skills that the finance committee can use, somebody they have vetted as a good, honest citizen, as opposed to just somebody. They make some kind of a
Agreed.
process by which they appoint.
But these, in my mind, these two arguments, they're opposite arguments.
Yeah,
You're
well-
saying, you'll be a completely unbiased, and we're gonna put you on, we're gonna recommend that you're on this board. But also, we are so important to the budget that we have to have a seat at the table, or at least a seat at
No,
appointing.
I don't want to seize the table. I want to have an input in what happens on FinCom, in that I will appoint somebody who will do the job well. And frankly, I'm back again. It ain't broke, don't fix it, move on. What I'm interested in is the process whether the FinCom is going to be presenting the budget at town meeting as opposed to town manager. Those are the things I want to talk about. Who appoints the members? It's been working well since my birthday, since 1938. So, don't fix it, it ain't broke.
But we do have to rationalize it. The recommendation to leave it as is.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially if we're potentially making a change to the Board of Assessors. I feel like that little bit, if we have changed what we potentially would change what's happening. So we have a change that will have some sort of domino effect. And as long as we're all fine with that, okay. But I agree, like, the changes that we make in other parts of the charter have a domino effect on some of the other pieces.
And I think that if we make one change, like to the assessors, then we really have to look at the whole thing and talk about these alternatives and so on. So,
I think you have
For now-
you have an argument here. You have two members of the board here that have been on the board for numerous years, and their recommendation is to leave it the same, so I.
yeah, but every board that's come in here said they want to leave it the same, no matter who they are.
I'm talking about people who have been on the board for
I know.
Maybe the
30
thing to do
years.
is ask the Board of Assessors.
No, I don't think they really have a say. I mean, it's really what we think is the right thing. Why don't we, for now, we're gonna leave it here, like with everything, and Mel, if you can just highlight this in yellow to make sure if we want to talk about this some more, everybody can think about it some more, we'll come back. All right, maybe we can look at some more charters and see what some other towns are doing, although I think most of them are saying it's gonna be the town moderator. And let's come back. This is good. I mean, this is a lot of time, but I didn't think we were gonna talk about this, but it's a good conversation to have. I think it's great. So, let's do that. They'll should say water commissioners for sure, but then beyond that, we're gonna see, come back to it. Because I don't think any of us were prepared to discuss this tonight, so not making a big decision tonight is probably a good thing as well. Fair enough, everybody?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Next.
7.2, the first draft that I saw had from except that the members first appointed, blah, 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 was crossed out. And in this draft that I'm looking at now, it's not.
I put that out because it doesn't need to be there anymore. This was obviously done when it was first created, and it's not an issue anymore, so there's no reason to have it there. To me, it's silly to put that in the charter.
Right, yeah.
So, but Mel, that's a good point. I had that crossed out. Except that the members first appointed. That line can come out of there, because it doesn't make, it's just not relevant anymore.
Which number is this?
7.2.
7-2.
Members first appointed in 1938.
Exactly. On Alan's birthday. Call it the Alan birthday clause.
Good.
Okay.
7.3.
Yeah.
So, does any other, and I know why it's here, and it's good that it's here, that you have to be a resident.
Yep.
I don't remember that being, unless you guys have already addressed it somewhere else, that being in our bylaws currently, except for the finance committee. That residency commitment was only applicable to the finance committee. And I know why it was put in there by a select board maybe 10, 12 years ago. So. But that should be townwide, I would.
Yeah, that's what we intend to do. We've talked about that.
The next piece, so it says, at the time of the appointment is not a resident town, is an elected officer of the town or an appointed officer with power to incur expenses chargeable against it. So I know why that was put in there. That was when I was named treasurer, and they wanted to get me off FinCom, so I couldn't do both. That's why that was there.
But it is good it's there.
But it is, it's very good.
And that
it's there.
dovetails with the discussion we were having.
It's the next
Go, okay, keep going.
sentence. If a
Yep.
member during his or her term becomes ineligible for appointment, then his place shall become vacant. So there are members of the finance committee that are on different committees, because they're established that way,
Yeah.
that expend money. For example, I'm on the Shaker Lane School Building Committee, and you betcha we're gonna be expending money. So I have to be on, there has to be a finance representative, according to the MSBA, on that building committee. So, and I certainly don't want to resign from finance committee. We have the same thing with CPC, for example. CPC is established with the member of the finance committee. They
That's true.
expend town funds.
That's true.
So those are ex officio though, right? Like you're required to have a finance person on the,
Yeah, but you're there, you're a voting member of those boards,
Voting
though,
member,
yeah.
yeah.
and they're spending money.
Didn't Mel state that these are direct from our bylaws?
Yes. This-
So
this-
therefore, our
this one-
bylaws, we're not
bylaw.
compliant with our bylaws. Is that what we're saying? Yeah,
It was
so we're
put
not
in
compliant with
there.
the,
Can I, it was put in there so that an employee basically cannot be on there because they're the department that's spending money and you can't have them in there. But if you think of the other things that happen, like those 2 committee appointments, and there could be more.
Right, sure.
so I'm just trying to establish if this is direct from our bylaws today,
It is.
and it is, therefore, we're currently operating inconsistent with our bylaws, and therefore our bylaws need to change. So we've got something before us, we're not gonna be able to say, just keep it as is. We're either going to make a recommendation the bylaws be changed, or we're gonna incorporate something in our charter that's gonna supersede those bylaws.
So
We
what do you
can't
recommend?
leave it as is. Because I agree with you.
Right.
We do not want you to be removed from FinCom, and we continue to want, I want to continue to have CPC representation by somebody on, from FinCom,
So the intent was employees, to not have an
regardless.
employee
it-
on the finance committee?
The intent was when I became treasurer. to get
Okay, but
me-
this says an appointed officer with power to encourage expense. So are you an officer in those other committees? That means you couldn't be an officer on CPC.
Still a voting member.
Okay?
Yeah, you're still
Yeah,
spending
does
funds.
officer imply chair, vice chair, clerk,
we
or
don't-
does
we
it
don't know.
imply
We don't know.
member?
Appointed officer. You're not really appointed as the officer anyway. You're appointed on the committee and then you're voted as an officer or not, so. So what should this really say? An employee cannot be on FinCom? I mean, is that really what we're trying to say here? Employees, town employees? And is that really, then do we
No,
really want to say that
you put
overall?
The overall caveat that says, except for committee appointments or this, some language like that to say,
But then it's
when a
just,
finance committee member is appointed to,
Yeah, or is mandated or required to be
required
part.
to be
Yeah,
on
so it's that
another
ex officio
committee.
role, like you have to have someone from the finance committee on the school building committee, okay. That's not an issue. So I think we just,
something to
Add that
think
in there.
about, that's all.
Is it worth maybe, I don't know, if you had it as or a chair, vice chair, clerk of these committees? Like, are we worried about people in those decision-making?
Wouldn't town employee cover that? Instead of,
well, but it could, maybe you're not a town employee. Steve's not a town employee. Of course, we want him to be able to do this stuff. But
well, I
yes, that's
know,
what you're saying.
I'm just saying, if, it says if you're an appointed officer, you can't do this. What if we take out appointed officer and just say if you're an employee of the town, you can't do this? Because that was the intent, because the treasurer is an employee of the town. That
Mel,
was, that
have
was
you
the
seen
intent
this
of the phrase.
elsewhere? Mel, have you seen this elsewhere? You know what we're discussing here?
Yeah, I've seen, I think I've seen it. I guess I don't, myself, I don't look at an appointed member of a multi-member body as an officer in that respect. But again, I don't know how all your committees work. But like, for example, would the person on the CPC be able individually to incur an expense? I don't believe so.
Well, not individually, but the chair couldn't individually do it either. They have to do it as part of the committee, but they could drive it a little bit more, but.
I think this has been around for a long time,
Yeah, I
as
don't,
part of the bylaw, because I can remember, maybe you remember this, Alan, when you were on the finance committee and you were the veterans agent, there was like kind of a back and forth on can Alan be on the finance committee? And I think what it came down to is Alan is recommending that the veterans agent spend certain funds, but it was the select board that was signing off on the warrant. So
Right.
they were the ones spending the money.
Absolutely.
That was how it kind of came. So is there some gray area with
So
that? Is it who's
Chair
signing
would
the?
Sign the warrant, right?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe that, could help.
And that would be the same with CPC. The CPC recommends, town meeting has to vote.
Right.
So from that standpoint, they aren't spending the money, they're recommending that money gets spent.
Because this is talking about charging, yeah,
Right, I mean,
incurring expenses against appropriated funds, which is when now you're not going to town meeting anymore for things, this is things that have been appropriated. So,
Like I said, it was for an employee.
I-
That was the intent.
okay. But I'm still trying to figure out, is there anything wrong with it the way it is? Does it really stop anything that we want to happen the way it's written now? Because, I mean, again, if an officer is a thing, so if they're not,
I think I
Yeah.
agree with Mel that it's fine, because even though Steve's on the Shaker Lane Building Committee,
Right.
he has no ability to spend money
Right.
on the committee without the entire committee voting,
right?
or, majority, so I think
Yeah,
it's all.
I think that's the difference
So
here,
I
it's really,
think He doesn't actually, though he's on a committee that spends money, he has no authority to spend money.
right?
Outside of the
Yeah.
vote of the committee.
Okay, I just want to
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I think the difference is the charging against appropriated funds, because then it's, you're saying, write a check to this guy to do this, and that wouldn't be good, but if it's already been in the budget, right? It's appropriated. If it's not yet appropriated, then you're asking if things to be appropriated, and that's, so it goes through the rest of the process. Okay?
So if the intent,
Now,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, so
Okay.
the other piece of that is now, is an elected officer of the town. So right now, Fred and I are both elected trust commissioners. We don't have a budget, so we're not spending town funds, but it is an elected office, at
We
least right
decided to
now.
make that appointed, right? Didn't
That's
we?
true, you're gonna be appointed, though.
That's fine.
But it's a good point, thank you for bringing that up.
So if
Problem
you,
solved.
if you deconstruct a sentence, I get is not a resident of the town. I get that. Is an elected officer, stop, of the town. So that's one. Who would that be? Who would be an elected officer of the town?
Anyone's an elected.
Right it?
Well, these guys are just saying that they are currently elected members of the
Got
Board
it.
of Trustees.
So whatever that board, so select board are elected officers of the town?
yep, yep.
The town clerk
Yep,
is an elected officer of the town. The library board is an elected officer of the town.
Park and Rec Board?
Park and Rec Board, elected
Board of
officer.
Health.
So, is that our intent, that we don't want any of those people to be able to serve on FinCom?
Yeah, I think so. FinCom needs to be more independent than that. I agree.
Okay?
Okay?
And then, or an appointed officer with the power to incur expense chargeable against appropriated funds.
Very particularly worded here, I think, so.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very specific.
Yeah.
So I think you
No.
can make it a little clearer by moving the "is not a town resident" to after the other clause, if you invert the clauses. Because that "is not an elected officer or an appointed" is one clause. It's not "isn't an elected officer, comma, or." If we're using the Oxford commas.
And you can just make it a separate sentence and just say, and the person, and they have to be a resident of the town.
Yeah.
Or we can not say it because we've got it elsewhere, right? Don't we have it elsewhere anyway? If you're appointed, you have to be a resident? Didn't we say that?
I think we
We
did.
said that right along,
Yeah.
so.
So to some extent, it's redundant anyway. But we could spell out again, just to make sure, I don't know, anybody would be on FinCom if they weren't a resident of the town.
Now, where in
Well,
this,
that
par-
was put in because we had
Yeah,
one.
somebody that left wanted to stay on it or whatever, yeah.
now, where in this paragraph is an employee, are we intending that employees cannot serve on FinCom? Because it
Yes.
doesn't say that, does
It
it?
doesn't say that.
That was gonna be my question around the intent, because if the intent was to prevent an employee from serving on FinCom, it doesn't say that anywhere in this.
Yeah, an appointed officer with power to incur expenses.
No, it doesn't mean.
There's a town
So
employee
as,
and
I
a.
mean, if I work for,
as
if I work for,
town
He is an
treasurer,
employee
I was
of the
an
town.
appointed
if I work for
officer of the
DPW
town.
though, I mean, can I,
Hmm?
if I work for DPW, can I run for FinCom? I mean,
You
that's,
The
can't
gas
spend money.
tank.
huh?
If you're not authorized to spend
spend
You're
money.
not allowed to spend money, yes.
So that means it's, so
But
then
as
you,
treasurer, I could.
right,
That's why it's there.
that's why it's there. So it's not,
But the-
not an employee, it's an employee that has money
So the
power.
less
Town
important,
officer, yeah.
so appointed officer isn't, in a sense, as important as power to incur expenses. That's really the part that is
Yep.
of concern. So in that sense, it would be appointed officer, employee, anyone who can. I mean, maybe that appointed officer language needs to be workshopped, but it seems like the thing people care about is with the power to incur expenses against appropriated funds. So, or anyone with power to, right? Otherwise, you're starting to list off all these different types of people. But really, what you want to say is, or anyone with power to incur expenses chargeable against appropriated funds.
Okay, I'm gonna say anyone's pretty broad. Is that-
I mean, I'm just. kind of
I know,
making
I'm
that
trying to, is there another
language
word we want to
weird.
use instead of that? Or be in a position to incur, or an appointed officer, or anyone. You good with anyone?
Anyone that orders paper for the copier is incurring
Well-
expense. I mean, are we,
Do we have a P card program? I mean,
And if you look at it the way Tim brought up, who's signing the warrant? So as a department head, they're responsible for it. So they're gonna incur the expense.
I think part of my challenge right now is
It's splitting hairs, I think.
splitting hairs, but at different times we've talked about transparency, and this meeting is not about transparency. We're continuing to keep, because probably a handful of people, and you're probably the only handful of people that can even get through this language to determine that what we're doing is okay. I would argue for, shouldn't we be attempting to be more transparent as we create a charter document and not have these feathered. Existing language works. You've proven that. I just questioned who will understand it.
Is there a sense in just pausing and asking for other language from other bylaws, just, you know, from other updated charters, to say like, presumably this isn't the only, Littleton's not the only place they try to split these hairs, so maybe if
Maybe.
we have other language, it might just,
Much like I think Kelly said, you were gonna ask a question. I have a question. Based on the language that's here in our bylaws, the question that I'd have is, if Brian chose to remain, is he able to leave town and continue to be serving on FinCom until his term expires and he needs?
Not according to this. If
Where-
you become, if you
where-
become, if it says the last sentence, if it becomes ineligible,
We
then the
had that
place,
happen,
their space
that's
becomes
why that's
vacant.
there.
Okay, where is that?
The last sentence on 7.3.
if they're ineligible.
Thank you.
Okay, so leave it as is, and as we go through our review of other charters, we'll see if something jumps out at us that seems better.
And maybe something to put in there is, what we talked about is, say, the responsibility of the finance committee, or in that section, is to report to town meeting, their loyalty is to the taxpayer. I mean, it's some language like that, so that it's in there, right, as you can see it, that there's no loyalty to the department that's
Right?
choosing them. I mean, if that's what belongs in here, but.
No, I think that's a good thing. As we get to which I thought we were gonna spend time on powers and duties, but yeah.
It should probably also go beyond appropriated funds, because I mean, you have enterprise funds that aren't necessarily appropriated.
Yeah, it should be any funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be a question. It seems
But
it's
again,
a thin section of
Also, okay, no problem.
the charter. Is in the other sections we have, like under the school committee, it has the powers and duties, and under the board.
Yeah, yeah.
But does that come under the financial procedures, or is that
No, it
just?
should be right here, it's just not here.
Okay,
It
just
should
not
be
written
here,
out yet.
absolutely should be here.
Okay.
And I know, in red here, it says referencing the general laws, I want it to be more specific than that. I think we need to spell out what, and that's what I thought we were gonna talk about tonight, honestly.
I'm game.
Still time.
Mark?
Nell's hand is up.
Okay,
I have a minor.
hang on,
one
Mel.
I had a minor one on 7-2, it says that they're appointed until the third annual town meeting after their dates. The way that everything is set up now is everyone's appointments expire at the end of the fiscal year, not at town meeting. All committees are.
Until the
like-
annual, third annual town meeting. So what is it supposed to be now? They all say,
Third fiscal year. It's 6/30, everyone's appointments expire 6/30 on all of the boards that aren't elected.
I think FinCom is different. I
Not on the
think,
website,
well, maybe the website's wrong.
so.
But I always understood that their appointments, ended with town
That's
meeting.
the way it, yes, that's the way this
So-
says.
One of them is wrong, I don't know which one's wrong.
okay, so we have to look at that on the website, check that and see what that says.
I think it makes more sense at the end of the fiscal year. Because after town meeting, there could still be things that,
There's still business to be done between then and June 30th.
like, you're in
Okay.
transfers.
So-
Like, there's huge stuff.
All right, so whatever wording we use for other appointments, we should use the same as for this, is what you're saying. Okay. I think that's good. Are people okay with that?
Mel had his hand up before.
Okay, yeah, Mel?
I'm not sure I understood what language are you putting back in?
Go ahead.
The way I've jotted it down for the minutes, so under term of office, that we would align the term language with all the other committees as it's currently written on the website, as opposed to what's currently in the bylaw.
Right now, it
So,
says until
and-
the third annual town meeting.
And we want to change it to the end of the fiscal year, like for the rest of the committees.
Do we
I see,
want to do that?
okay, so
Well,
yeah,
sorry,
that's
that
fine.
was what was
Be in the
discussed,
third
but
fiscal year.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want to ask a question first is, in the general laws, it says the finance committee shall consider any or all municipal questions for the purpose of making reports or recommendations to the town. So I guess the question is, I find some communities limit the scope of the finance committee. For example, they have finance committees limited to only financial matters that are before town meeting. So I guess the question is, does the finance committee make recommendations on matters of zoning or historic districts and other matters that,
No,
are before the town meeting?
no, financial.
Financial.
In Littleton, financial only.
Then you really need to say that in the charter, I think. And so that would be one suggestion I would make, is that you'd say that the finance committee shall make reports and recommendations to the town meeting on matters of whatever, budgetary or financial impact to the town. And we can work out that language, there's a lot of examples, but I believe that should be in the charter. If you're not requiring the finance committee to make recommendations on certain matters, you should
No,
say
they
that.
don't. When we go through the warrant, it's the finance committee only, if it's not a financial article, then they don't vote a recommendation or not, they just leave it.
Okay. And then there are a number of references in the general laws about finance committees. For example, there's a provision, there's the reserve fund, which I'm sure you're aware of. The reserve fund allows the finance committee to make transfers for extraordinary unforeseen expenses. there are a
In the
number of
charter?
references
Oh,
in
that's in the
chapter
general
44
law.
about the finance committee approving certain transfers. But, in my opinion, those are all left to just a reference to the general laws.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't get into them in detail
No.
unless you want them, but I think the most important one is to make sure people know in the charter that the finance committee is reporting to the town meeting on matters that relate to budget and finance.
That's for sure. And then it gets more into the details of actually who owns the budget and who drives the budget and so on. That's, I think, the bigger discussion. But maybe we wait until the finance procedures section, although in the end it's going to be.
Yeah, that is a big question. I guess that while the finance committee members are here, what is the current practice? So do you, ended up, finance committee gets the budget in different requests and then puts a balanced budget together and presents it to the town meeting?
In finance committee's opinion, it is the finance committee's budget, and we present it to town meeting. Past couple of years, we've changed our internal procedures to work with the current select board. But again, no offense to the previous select board members up there. Not all boards are easy to work with. This board happens to be, and we've had a good working relationship, but that has not always been the case. So I guess, in our opinion, Fred and I, it is the finance committee's budget.
Absolutely.
And I see in here that it says it's the town manager's budget, and I would go up and down to town meeting to get that out of there. It is not the town manager's
I
budget.
just want to be clear, Steve, that that section about the finance procedures is not the one we've drafted. This is something that I think we were asked to provide at least some framework in connection with this budget discussion with the finance committee. So we really haven't had the kind of discussion, I think, with the committee before we would draft language. But while you're here, I think it is important to distinguish whose budget it is going to town meeting. And if there is some consensus around there, that's fine. We will put that in that section of financial procedures.
Do you think there is consensus on? I mean, because right now, the town code right now says the town administrator will be responsible for the budget process. I understand. So how does it really work today? I mean, obviously, the town manager is actually, or town administrator is actually working with all the department heads and putting together the budget with the finance team, and they come up with a balanced budget, more or less.
The way we changed it
Yep.
a couple of years ago, and I believe it's worked very well, and Mark
Okay.
certainly may have his opinions also, but we changed it that the town administrator goes through, collects the budgets, meets with its department heads, and presents the finance committee and select board a balanced budget. That's the process that's going on right now. I know I'm meeting with the town administrator and the finance director this week to go over the first draft of that. So it's close. Once the select board and finance committee get that budget, finance committee and the select board is requested to tag along this year, meet with the different departments to go over what their submitted budgets were, one-on-one. We then have 3 sessions, I think, are scheduled this year, 3 successive Wednesdays, where we meet as a group with departments, so we're all hearing the same message.
The group being who now?
Select board, finance committee.
Okay, so this is like the Super Saturday thing, only on Wednesdays.
Right, and then we have
Okay.
a super Saturday where we meet with police, fire, highway, and then we spend the afternoon.
Oh, I see, so Wednesdays are
going
for
to
the other
Capitol
smaller
and
groups, okay.
Coming as close as we can to finalizing the budget. So, coming out of that early February meeting, we're probably 90% toward the final budget at that point in time. And we probably meet jointly with the select board. Again, I think the process works well, because we have a good relationship with the select board. That we're hearing the same things, we come up with the same things, and it's a joint venture right now that we all, you know, have a say in what makes the final budget, basically.
Right.
But town meeting sees a budget that, in my opinion, is the finance committee's budget. In past years, well, 1 year in particular, years ago, where the select board tried to take control of it, we actually submitted 2 budgets to town meeting. Finance committee draft and a select board draft. Very confusing for the town meeting, but we just didn't agree, and we're firm, we're firm in saying that is the finance committee's budget, the town meeting.
So how much of this process, so that's the process, so the process works well now, so how much of that gets put in the charter, which means it's hard to change in the future? Right, so this is kind of where we're gonna come down to, I think.
I have no issues in saying that the town manager or town administrator, whatever,
Process.
does what he does right now. Submits a balanced budget to the finance committee.
Prepare and present an annual operating budget for the town and present a capital improvement plan that's separate, but yeah, just for the, it just says, right now it just says to present, it doesn't say to whom, but yeah.
Because years gone by, the finance committee actually met with all of the departments one-on-one, and the select board met with the departments one-on-one.
Right.
That they had control over, yes.
And, the departments they had control over. And the message wasn't always the same. So what we tried to do was to take some of that fog bank away, and everybody's hearing one message. And, we don't always agree, and we end up with a list of 8 or 10 items that on Super Saturday, we sort of hash out and try to come to agreement before we leave the room. And for the most part, I think that's worked pretty well. So when we put the process in place that we have now, it was meant to, the managers of the departments basically create the budget, bring it up, we look at it at the same time the select board looks at it, and we don't always just accept it. We may tweak it, and that's basically where we are. But
Because after the town administrator right now submits his budget to FinCom and Select Board, he's basically out of the process, and he has done his job in doing that. And I think when you heard from Mark in Groton, Mark Haddad, he basically said the same thing, is that he prepares it, submits it to the Finance Committee. The Select Board wasn't as involved as ours is right now. And it was the Finance Committee's document after that.
So the way that then I read the town manager section, it doesn't actually conflict with what you're saying. It just, to me, maybe might need to add a little bit more specificity, because what I'm hearing from you is that the town manager is responsible for preparing and presenting a balanced annual operating budget to FinCom.
Right.
And I think that's then, because that's like step one.
Yep.
Which also makes sense if the town manager is responsible for the department heads. That's, to me, like this operational arm. They get their job done, and then it goes into like FinCom select board, and that's kind of phase 2.
I think as long as Littleton has the form of government it has, which is strong town meeting and weak select board and weak finance committee, weak departments, because nobody gets any money without town meeting authorizing it. So as long as town meeting is the ultimate authority, I think the way we put the budget together in a cooperative manner, I think is really the best model that I've seen in my 40 years of doing this. So I'd urge you to
But
at least take that as.
I think it's important to place the responsibility of the budget on one of the boards.
Right, which is us.
So there has to be a lead board there, because there will be disagreements between the two. We haven't had that happen in the past few years. We don't see it happening as long as this current board is there. But boards change, and there needs to be somebody who is responsible for that budget. And you can't really put it to two boards.
Right, so, and I agree, and it works well now. I just worry about the day that Steve and Fred aren't here anymore.
But
You know, and so you still have to have a,
New town
and
manager,
it's good, strong, what's that?
and a new town manager someday, and
Something like that, you know,
new
so you
FinCom, yeah.
So,
I think
go ahead.
we have to make sure that we have a very strong FinCom, and we need to make sure that in the charter, that the budget is the FinCom budget, and FinCom presents to town meeting.
Right.
Okay.
But it doesn't say that now.
It doesn't
We've-
now.
We've got to
We
work
need to
on,
make-
Gotta add some more.
Those
On
two
the language.
things should be in the charter.
because the general laws give the FinCom the responsibility for the budget, unless there's a bylaw, which there is, that says the town administrator runs the budget process. And if there's a charter, that supersedes it too. So we need to reflect what actually happens, or what we want it to say. Because you could read this and just say, well, that means the town manager's running the show, and, unless we make it clear in the FinCom section, then procedures
Yep.
section, that's not how it
Right,
runs.
and I think part of it is the wording and saying that the town manager presents the budget to FinCom, not just presents the budget, but it presents it to FinCom, that tells that, and then the other part is within FinCom.
Yeah,
that they-
right.
In their roles and responsibilities, which we don't have here right now, powers and duties that we spell out, that they own the budget. So
And for that, would we
get
look
rid of
to,
that.
I assume again, other charters
Yeah.
probably have some language that says something like FinCom is accountable for the ultimate budget that goes to town meeting, or something that describes it in
Yeah.
that way.
Mel's
Places that
hands up.
Okay, Mel?
We would probably use the general laws, which uses the phrase, "shall submit a budget at the town meeting, at the annual town meeting."
Okay. You guys, yeah, Mark?
So if you look at this,
Gee, Rob.
section 8, financial procedures in the doc, when everything
Mhm.
under it is actually labeled section 7, but
Yep.
it's section 8.
Yep,
If you move 7.2A2 to be the first thing, that would help. Number 2 to be number 1. But that is basically saying what the town manager's responsibility in the budget process is. And then in 1, you have basically it should say that the town manager presents the budget to the finance committee, and then the finance committee basically owns it from there, but that needs a little bit of wordsmithing.
yeah, because here it says the town manager responsible for presenting the budget to town meeting, so yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
get rid of that line too, but,
Yep,
um,
yeah, this wording came in really late, so we haven't,
Yeah.
probably everybody
Yeah.
hasn't even seen it.
and
Yeah,
the
this
date,
is not really wording that I feel comfortable
Okay.
being a recommendation. I haven't even seen this, so
Okay.
it's hard for me to respond to it.
also the
But
dates.
it's helpful to hear things out, because then we will address language,
Okay.
draft language.
Yep,
Yeah,
The dates in the 7.2A1 all have to be moved back about a month, because it says a copy of the budget shall be presented the first Monday in April. April 1st is when we have to go to print for the town meeting warrant, so it's.
I wouldn't put the,
Like I said, we're
I'm not gonna
about
put dates in there
90%
anyway.
done.
What's that?
We're about 90% done by the time.
We can change the
Well,
dates.
Or not have them in there at all, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
I don't
it's
think-
easier.
Maybe I don't even put them in there, right?
So,
Yeah.
back in the town manager section, section 6,
Yeah,
6-1,
yep. I,
prepare and present an annual operating budget for the town
yep,
and present capital improvement.
yep,
So we should prepare and present,
To
Two.
FinCom.
right.
yes.
Or the town is okay, but it's
Yeah.
gotta be to FinCom.
To FinCom.
Right. And do we do that capital improvement plan? Do we spell that out as a separate document? That's really part of the,
Actually, do it 10-year, not
Okay.
5-year.
and you call it that, capital improvement plan?
Yeah, it's capital plan, yeah.
Capital plan?
The committee,
Committee does that too. Yep.
so there's a separate committee for that.
No,
Yeah,
they-
so
they-
Steve, so,
they do
so,
it.
and again, so it's the same process for the capital plan, right, Steve? More or less? It's the same process
We
in terms
did
of?
have a little subgroup of FinCom and Select Board meet outside of the full committee to go over the capital plan initially.
But it's still,
Did that
the town
one-
manager would be responsible for, or town administrator for putting that together and
Yes.
still present it to FinCom, so, I mean, that part of the process is the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Because this is saying there's a whole other committee that's doing
That must be from other documents, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you looking at now?
7-3, which is really 8-3, I guess. Under the process.
I mean, I also don't want to diminish the role of the Select Board
Okay,
either.
right.
I was wondering whether where you inserted shall prepare and present the budget to the FinCom, would it say FinCom and Select Board? I'm not commenting on who takes ownership from that point, but would it be presented coincidentally to both those bodies, and then make it very clear later on in the document that it's the FinCom who presents, they're presenting the budget?
Yeah, I'd be
I'm
totally,
fine with that.
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
To FinCom and Select Board.
yep,
Yep.
absolutely, yeah. Equal partner, not equal, but partners, so you want to do it that way? Yeah, good point, Kevin, thank you. Okay, so, again, the financial procedures, we're not going to wordsmith that, because clearly that just needs more work and updating and so on. But, okay. What else? Actually, we got through. That was some good discussion, I think. That was good. Get that clear. Everybody seemed in agreement. Those are big items, so that's actually a big thing.
I'd like to raise a question, public input.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to raise the question of public input with regard to FinCom. When does it take place in your minds?
When does,
Public input only at town meeting, or are there other times where public input
at
pertaining?
any meeting?
I would think it should be remembered that I attempted to raise a single question during the Super Saturday and was
That's a
denied.
working session. It's different.
So my question is an open one of when and when is it, you know, done? Because often, as I think has been stated, FinCom increasingly appears with Select Board in joint meetings, or I'm just looking for when are the opportunities for the public, who I think disproportionately in my minimal time period here seems to be sparking off during debate with regard to various matters at town meeting. But many of those matters seem to have a financial aspect or tone to them, whether that's appropriate or not. Several people spark off routinely, and so I'm looking for when can the public be heard with regard to what you're saying during regular scheduled meetings. And then I would just look for when.
FinCom does have their own meetings every once in a while, not as often as we used to. But we do have our own meetings.
And
But at any select board FinCom joint meeting, there's always something there that says public input.
So there probably should be a difference between the working sessions versus meetings. They should just probably be posted separate as a different title to make it clear. I think that's Rob's point.
But,
Like
so,
Super Saturday when we're going through all the departments,
so
those are
the,
working sessions.
right, so I think Jim is recommending, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he's recommending that the first Wednesday meeting is a public
Yeah,
discussion of the budget. And then those next 3 Wednesdays are department head meetings. And I would assume those are working sessions as well as Super Saturday. Sorry.
No,
so
Mark?
I have a question on the general financial stuff, because it talks like, everything is decided by the town, but it's not, because you have all these enterprise funds that are kind of managed separately, but everything says all the money's of the town. So I don't know where enterprise funds fall under.
You're looking under the financial procedures here,
There's several things that.
under 8 or 7 or whatever it is here? In the newest document, Mark, I'm not sure, I just want to know what you're referring to.
Yeah, I just saw in several places that said, let's see if I can, like, well, yeah, like in the the budget and budget process 7.2,
Yep,
the 3, it's all town funds and activities, but enterprise funds are treated very differently than appropriated funds, so I'm not sure
yep.
what the correct wording is
Okay,
there,
so-
or how we want to deal with it.
I agree, but Mel said this is kind of like,
Yeah, but I agree with that too.
but
I
in
think
general, it's good for us to know that you can't
And
just
I think it's
say,
in other places too.
Okay.
I haven't read this
all right,
that thoroughly.
that's a good point. So we need to just look at the document for that. Yes, thank you.
What's an example of an enterprise fund?
Park and Rec has an enterprise, it runs out of, well, what are they called now?
They're a revolving
A
fund.
revolving fund?
So why don't you explain quickly, can you do the short version of revolving versus an enterprise fund?
A revolving fund would be, we use Park and Rec as an example, they charge fees for Camp T, for example. Those fees then support the programs,
Got
so
it.
they have to be used for the programs that they're within that department. An enterprise fund, the water department is an enterprise fund of the town. The light department is an enterprise fund. They're a standalone entity that rolls up into the town. They have their own budget.
So the library is
Light
one?
department's budget doesn't necessarily have to go to town meeting. We have done it in the past, but there's no requirement for that. Water department's budget does, sewer department's budget does. That's another enterprise fund. So they're just standalone entities, funds that the sewer department raises through the user fees support the operations. Same thing with the water department. Water rates support the operations.
Cemetery?
Electric rates support the operations.
Is cemetery an example of that?
The revolving.
Cemetery is
Not.
not an enterprise fund.
But it's a revolving fund, so those funds have to be
They
used.
have a revolving fund.
Right.
They're
And they
a
also have some
department
town funds, yeah.
that has a revolving fund because they sell
Lots.
lots. And they use those funds to do maintenance at the cemetery.
And the
But
reason we have to.
Yeah, they also have town funds, that's
Right.
the real
They also have
difference.
some town budget as well.
Enterprise fund stands alone, revolving fund has income that they use, also they have town
To
funds.
supplement town money, yes, absolutely.
And
It's a good
not
way
all
to
of
put it.
these go to town meeting as part of the budget, is that why we're calling this out?
So they all do go to town meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and
Revolving funds.
we're calling out enterprise funds because they do or don't go to town meeting as part of the budget? But to Mark's point, why do we need to specify appropriated versus enterprise versus?
They don't, so like the water department really doesn't use town funds, they use user
Fees, yeah.
fees to support their operations. As an enterprise fund of the town, if those fees run short, the town has to kick in that money to cover them, like we're doing with the sewer department right now.
But the revolving funds, the, like Park and Rec doesn't, we don't vote on anything from that, that's just the Park and Rec commissioners,
From the revolving
from
funds.
the revolving funds.
Yes.
So I guess the argument is there's some funds that would be exempt from the generalized procedures that we're laying out.
There's
So we
also-
do need to kind of make sure it's just clear that the procedures that we're laying out don't apply to X, Y, and Z.
But the.
If they don't.
Finance-
If they don't, yeah.
Some cases
Finance
they
committee
may.
and select would still weigh in on those things occasionally. What's a
But it would
good
be a
use of the
different-
revolving fund money, for example? Is the enterprise fund going to fall short? How much do we have to kick in? So we do get involved in those things.
But it'd be slightly different procedures, slightly different, okay.
I think the details are probably not something you were gonna put in the charter.
They're gonna go in the
But,
bylaw.
you know, there are clearly distinctions between the general fund and enterprise funds and revolving funds, but they all have to be appropriated or authorized by town meeting. So I think from a charter point of view, I think it's okay to incorporate those.
It's just the statement, all funds, right, that gets a little tricky, because there's others that have trust funds
Right.
that are allocated, and there's others, that- like the library also gets state aid that the town doesn't allocate or have anything to do with on any of the budget process. So it's just the all funds wording is tricky.
I'm just asking why.
No, but no, it's, that's, exactly.
Why are we talking about this?
Yeah,
Words are important.
they are, and how this all works, and it's us, and so we understand it, and it's also, there's a lot of other people that are watching, and everybody learns and understands better. So I thank you for asking the question. And I know you won't, but don't be shy about asking future ones. Okay? No, it's good. Absolutely. All right, anything else we want to talk to here tonight? No. Okay. How about you guys? Anything you want to tell us? Oh, just as a correction, Steve, you sent the thing about we talked last time about the benefits. And, oh, well, the school, you know, whether they get the benefits from the town or not, I don't know if everybody saw the email, so Steve sent a correction for us, which, thank you very much for that. Is that, so everybody else knows out there that, if the school department or some other light and water, whoever wants to say, well, we want to offer this benefit to our employees, they don't get to go out and do it on their own. They have to go through the town. It can still be done, and it can only be offered maybe to those employees, but it still goes through the town. They cannot do it on their own. So it was an important clarification, so thank you for that.
Everything goes to the HR department.
Everything goes through. Okay, all right, should we move on to the next topic for right now then? Okay, thank you guys, you're welcome to stay. Thank you very much, I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Okay, go
Thank you.
Patriots.
Seriously, thank you for volunteering for this. I've been volunteering a long time in this town, and I know what it takes to do this kind of thing. You should be applauded for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Now you're just kissing up.
Yeah, that's Fred's specialty, we all know.
Which draft will you work on? Which draft will you?
Well, I had two. I had the Charlotte's original, and then I just printed off the last 3 pages that Anthony sent later this afternoon. All right. Public input. I guess we don't have any tonight. The meeting dates, I think you saw my email, so we have draft dates, but I haven't gotten confirmed, and we have room and so on, but that's where we are on that. And then we want to, let's approve some minutes, and then we'll go back to the document, okay, just so I go through the other things here. Can we approve minutes from 11:24?
So moved to
Second.
approve the minutes to 11:24.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Everything okay? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, let's go back to what else we have. Oh, the newsletter, let's talk about that real quickly. Charlotte had done this a while ago. This is about appointed versus elected. I think it's very well written. And then we had the short survey. Do you want to include that? Okay with me if you guys have the technology together to do that?
Yeah.
I think we've got it.
The link.
Okay, is everybody okay with this going into the town newsletter?
Yeah, very,
Is there
very
any,
well written, yeah.
prior sharing with anyone before it goes in the newsletter?
This was your point, yeah, you were gonna say, did you want to give anybody a heads up? Currently, it just reads as like purely informational, and I did not include like, and we're thinking about moving this board or that board, it's just more of a neutral
Yeah.
kind of educational note. So I don't know if if the comment still holds. Like, do we need to give people a heads up on it?
I would minimally share it with the select board, give them a heads up, minimally, since I think we're functioning at the behest of the select board, but just,
Okay.
but I'd probably give a copy to town administrator, just FYI.
I would hope he reviews everything that goes into that town's newsletter before it goes out, but I don't know how it works. But it's a good point, Kevin, so
Okay. Who's the
we can do
editor?
that.
Who's the editor of the news?
I have no idea. It's a good question. I don't know.
I know it gets submitted to Lisa.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who actually does
I
it.
don't know either. There's who.
We also, I think, made the comment that we would leave the questions live so that even when we move on to the next subject and we have a new question, that we would maintain the links so
Okay.
that people can continue to. It's not like you just have to get your comments in within a month. You can just
Okay, right.
keep commenting.
Right, okay. Cool. Those guys can close the door anytime. Okay, all right, so we'll do that. We got the dates. We did that, all right. Now, do we need to go through, Mel? Do you have specific things you want to go through on the document itself? Or do we should go through it, or where are we on this? Or should we look at it and see based on Charlotte's comments? Yeah, you think that?
Sure, yeah.
I'm looking for Mel.
Mel's muted.
Are you muted, or just not talking?
No, I'm here, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Charlotte. I had done a similar, been keeping a similar notes, and especially from your last meeting where you made a lot of decisions. And so I think we're really in sync, Charlotte, but it was really great to have a separate set of eyes. And the draft that was submitted to you today, with the exception of the new finance sections, are supposed to, include the changes, all the changes that Charlotte and we have identified. I believe they're in a yellow shaded print. I can go over them with you, or it's up to you.
I honestly didn't print off the one that came in so late.
Yeah.
I can put it up,
Joe
share
has
it if
one.
you want me.
All right, I guess, you want to do that?
You want
You've got the highlighted things that have changed?
to put it up, he said? Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you can put it up, Mel, I guess we'll do that.
All right, okay.
So is that the version from today?
The late afternoon one. Yeah,
Okay.
it says 12:01 at the top.
So I'm just going to scroll through until we find something that was changed or was addressed.
Page numbers, yeah.
Okay, so you recall the discussion about whether,
Yep.
you're going to require 2 town meetings a year. I believe we knew that, but for some reason didn't have that in the document. So here, we are talking about requiring, a spring town meeting and oh, no, I'm sorry. This section 2.2 is about the deputy town moderator.
Right.
I'm sorry, before we get there. I think the committee wanted to have a process in the charter for the appointment of a town moderator by the town meeting.
So,
Be at both meetings?
hang on. Well, yeah, I would think it would be spring and fall, but the other thing is, this is saying they would do it at town meeting. Oh, that's right, because that's when you would do it, right? Because you would nominate them and then they would vote at town meeting? Or do you just nominate them ahead of time and you appoint them?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was what Kevin and others were arguing, that someone would be teed up ahead of time.
Right.
And there would be a need to elect them at the meeting because they'd already be the deputy moderator.
Yeah,
Appointed.
that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you walk.
So you want that to be appointed?
It's an appointed
in
position.
advance?
What's that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch
It's
it.
gonna be an appointed position, but it's done not at town meeting. It's just, I guess we have to say when and all that.
Appointed by the moderator.
Yeah.
Appointed by the moderator.
But when?
Yeah, maybe we should have that
For a
in the
term,
town moderator section.
It's just like
I don't know.
term, it would be
For
a
a
term,
term.
like anything else, right?
I
Yeah.
guess. Annual or-
So when is that accomplished?
Annually?
Yeah, I would think annually. Rob's asking when that would
Right.
happen. Obviously, we'd want to do it before town meeting.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, you know.
Within the calendar year, but before town meeting, so it could just be.
Well, how is it communicated to the public? I mean, it's theoretically a pretty important process if you're not able to serve.
Yeah, I could go to a select board's meeting and tell them, you know, who I appointed, or bring that person in, have them meet the board, and
I think we can look at some other towns and see what they say
Yeah.
about that. Yep.
That's
that's
a good idea. And then you can put it on the website.
right. Right.
Well, I think in this case, I think it's probably better to move this, that section, if you want it in the charter, to the town moderator, but
Yeah.
I'll check on that. Okay,
I think that was our intention.
And within that existing language, is it adequate? I found the phrasing at the end of the last sentence, shall expire at the next Springtown meeting. Is that understood to be the expiration? If it's an annual appointment, is it the expiration that the first term ends at the beginning of that town meeting and subject to a new appointment by the moderator?
No, it's a good that's a good point. That's not clear the way it is there at the next town meeting. So is that before or after the town meeting, right?
Mhm,
So-
yeah, okay, we can,
We'll have to
So
look.
we need to
we
work
we
on
need
that
better
language.
wording. We need better wording for that overall. Yeah.
I-
Is there a
okay.
webpage for the moderator?
Yeah, so I was
there's
wondering
a
if,
town meeting section, I think,
Oh, it's
that,
under town meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think he
Might
just
be
said he's gonna
off
move
of the
that under
clerk's-
town moderator. That's a
clerk's
role
page.
responsibility is to appoint.
Karen's looking at the website,
Okay.
just to
Okay,
see
good.
where it lives, yeah. Okay.
so then the next section was that dual town meeting, the required meetings in the spring and the fall. We have determined that those are, if they're required meetings that are in your charter, the 10 signature petitions would be applicable to both of those meetings. And so we mentioned that down
Yeah,
below,
hang
but
on, hang on.
um,
Let's talk about that for a
how
second.
do you like this language?
Hang on. Go ahead. mean-
We're committing to having two town meetings every calendar year. The spring town meeting is, for other, is the annual town meeting. The town budget is passed, and all the business that's necessary before July 1 is done at that spring annual town meeting. The fall town meeting, it can be a regularly scheduled town meeting, but it is a special town meeting. And the number of signatures required for a citizen petition are different depending on what kind of a meeting it is. And, well, yeah, I'll just mention this while I'm thinking of it. Section 2.5, on notice, we specify 14 days. The notice requirement is 7 for an annual town meeting, 14 for a special town meeting. If we're okay with it being 14 for any town meeting, I guess this is the place for that, but we should know that that's what we're doing.
Well, it's also the 8. I thought we changed that to, or is that
3.
8 the new number?
Three
Supposed to be 3 now, right?
Yeah, 3 places, yeah.
We changed that
Yeah.
already. Yeah, it's supposed to be 3.
And if we want 14 days notice for every town meeting, that's fine. You know, I always thought the 7 was kind of close for an annual town meeting, but that's what the law says. But,
Tim,
you know,
we're-
they're 2 town meetings, we're committing to that, but one is an annual and one is a special, in my view. And I think, in the other moderators I've talked to as well, but,
That's not what I thought we agreed to. I thought we agreed to.
well, I don't know that I ever agreed to it, but,
I was under the impression it was, as Tim was saying, that we will formalize the idea that we will have a full special town meeting. So we will have 2 meetings every year.
right.
But we understand that there are differences between them, that one is the annual
Yeah.
meeting, one is a special meeting, but it's a permanent special meeting.
Yeah,
That was
Standard
my
meeting,
understanding
yeah.
from the notes that we took.
Can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
I'm talking
Yep.
to somebody from Acton recently, who's a former select board member. He said this year he didn't think they were gonna do a fall town meeting in Acton. Is their town government that much different that they could somehow get away with not having? Do they have
Oh,
a
it's
much
a-
stronger town manager?
Well, they have a
So-
town manager, but if there's no need,
I know,
usually
I
it's
just-
for
we always have
budget
so many
adjustments, or the
things.
or the
Yeah.
local aid numbers weren't known at the
Yeah, but
time
we have
of,
so
you
many
know, but,
things. I guess if you don't have the warrant, you just don't do it, but.
yeah,
I was, when I heard that, I was like,
And-
ooh, should we revisit this? Do we really want to institutionalize a fall town meeting? But, well,
Yeah.
we said we were, so I.
I said
you
we
know,
would, right,
yeah,
which I said, yeah.
Okay.
But that, you know, there is a difference between the two meetings, I think. Most people.
Tim, we checked with the Attorney General's office, and, we'll clarify it further, but my understanding is that if you are requiring a meeting, whether it's in the fall or the spring, they will allow your charter to use the language relative to petitions or other notice as an annual meeting. We should clarify that. And I guess you should tell me,
Sure.
is that what you want? Is that what the committee wants? Do you want two town meetings that are, similar in terms of being able to petition and post and so on?
I thought that was one of the main driving reasons for formalizing it in the charter was for that 10-vote petition, because we said, well, we have a fall town meeting almost always. Do we want to formalize it? If we formalize it, we have to have it. If we don't formalize it, well, it just stays as it is. It's a special meeting and it requires more signatures. I thought that was the 10 signature petition. I thought that was the driving reason to formalize it here.
I believe you. I don't remember the
That's
conversation.
what I recall.
That's how I thought as well.
And that's why you like it, because I'm thinking, sitting here thinking, I think it's
Because-
citizens'
yeah,
petition. They
because
ought to be able to get 100
there-
votes, but- or
there's-
100 signatures.
There still is the need for the language with regard to special town meeting, because any citizen, 200 signatures, can force the select board to convene a special town meeting beyond a spring and a fall meeting. So there still is that separateness with regard to special, with regard to 200 signatures. But I thought we had already done this. We want to reopen it up again. I'd argue, let's try to get through the rest of this as opposed to sticking on this again and having to go back and refresh memories, et cetera.
I think it seems pretty straightforward. So we're saying that 2 meetings, and because of what Mel just said, you can have 10 signature petition rule will apply to the second meeting.
If you can do that, then that's fine. Yeah, I got no problem with that.
I think we would
I
write
only
that right
recall the
into the
agreement,
charter.
yeah, on the 2 meetings, but, yeah.
Well, did I understand you correctly when you were explaining? I thought what you said was essentially, if we put this in the charter as an annual town meeting, if we say we have a spring town meeting and a fall town meeting, then both fall under that 10 signature rule. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, that's what I said, but I still think that you should say that in your charter.
So present language,
Which we have, I believe and that's
That's
what we've
what's in there
done
now, I think.
here.
let's take a look at it.
Okay. So where, are you showing that language now, Mel? Is that where you're going?
I'm looking,
Just see what's in there. Here we go.
Yeah, if you look at section 29B, look at that one.
Our first special town meeting. Okay, there it goes.
And we're okay with the 14 days notice for any and all town meetings? Just so that we know that's what we're doing. I didn't want it to just go pass by.
Because you're saying that's not what we do now? The rule is 7?
Yeah, it's 7 for an annual town meeting, 14 for a special. And section 2.5 says 14 for all town meetings, which seems to make more sense, actually, it's the same.
No, you have to know 14 days in advance. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's,
I mean, sometimes the town is late getting something out, and, they missed the 14 days,
Let's
but,
stick with it.
okay?
stick with 14?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to just question on section 2.4. I think the word "on" that's, I don't know, 7th, 8th word is carryover, because this section you previously said town meeting held on the Tuesday of the week, I'd suggest during might, seems to me to be a more appropriate word than on. But not something.
No, you're right, that's the word, I don't see, I mean, that hasn't been changed yet, right? I mean, it's just, well, oh, you have the up-to-date document, I don't, okay. No, he's looking down at, he went back now to 2, 4. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Shall be, where is it, this though, here? The annual town meeting shall be held, that's what we're looking for. Where is it? Time of meeting. Time of meeting, where's the next one?
What numbers are we talking about?
Section
2, 4, oh
Section
no,
2.
2, 4.
It currently reads, there shall be a Springtown meeting
This is
held
3.
on the week of the first Monday, and I'm saying that on word is carryover from when it was
First
on
Monday.
Tuesday of,
First
saying it should be
Monday.
during to be more readable.
Okay, so this is,
Right.
you don't have the most recent, this isn't the one that came out late this afternoon though, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yes, this is the one.
we did
That's-
say
you're
Tuesday.
saying That's the one.
Town meeting held the first, but we didn't say the first Monday in May, that's that whole thing about it has to be the,
We said Tuesday in May.
During,
First Tuesday.
During the week.
during.
Yeah, we're not
We got
saying a
rid
day.
of, we got rid of Tuesday.
yeah?
We got rid of Tuesday? Mm-hmm. I thought we got rid of Monday and went to Tuesday.
It wasn't, because in the language we decided that the town meeting day would be
Right.
not specified in the charter.
Held on the-
It would just have to fall
on the
within
week.
the week.
Okay, so, and
Of
so, okay,
the
so all
first
this is down,
Monday.
it says on the week here, and it should say in the week. That's all Rob's trying to say.
During the week. but
During the
not
week, not on the
On the
week.
week, who
Mel?
says, who talks like that?
Yes.
All right.
I've got it.
Got it?
Yes. I've got it.
Okay,
Yep,
thanks.
Got that.
All right,
And then.
and then you
let's
got the
see.
other one about the postings too, that it's 3 locations,
Yep.
not 8? Okay, thank you.
Yep, I got that. We just, okay, this is the section about, previously it said if there was a, first of all, it said head of department and division head, so we eliminated division heads. And it used to say, if you sponsor an article, well, a lot of times departments don't sponsor the article, so we said if an article appears in the warrant affecting their department. That's how we did it, so.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Yes, all right, phew. Next.
All right. We talked about the spring and fall town meetings and so I think that's it for the town meeting. Go to the select board. Here, select board shall something hold any other elected town office. So the prohibition in A, was that there before, or was that there because we talked about that other prohibition? I don't recall. It's not highlighted, so I'm gonna just move on. We added the school department as an exception in addition to the municipal light and water departments around the town manager's personnel system.
Can I just ask, Charlotte, what did you want to check with council on?
Remind me where we at?
Section 3-4.
3-4F.
3, 4. Oh, we had an extensive discussion around the power of the select board to delegate and who they could delegate to, and whether or not, for instance, the town clerk had certain responsibilities and under state law, like whether or not you could
Well, this was
delegate
the
anything
Dog
to
licenses.
yeah,
and
anything
marriage
to
licenses.
anyone.
I believe that's the F here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we left it as is, but if you want to check with council, you can.
I mean,
Should we move on?
Yes.
Anthony put back the sections that he relocated from his prior version.
can
No
I,
changes, but he,
how far, are-
What
you're
section? you
moving
mean?
fast, yeah. Like, where are you
I
at?
believe he put in, I believe that the selection committee and the annual review manager, 3.6 and 3.7, was moving out, into the town manager. But, I think the committee didn't want to move it at this time, and I think it's fine here.
Well, no, that wasn't, the issue was that they got moved. I thought there was one that should be moved and one that should not, is what I recall. Rob, are you in agreement?
That's how I remember it, but I'm
Okay.
not ready to tell you which is which right now. I didn't.
Shall assist them in recruiting event. Well, it's a matter of what the select board with this is their powers and duties. So they're going to appoint. They're going to provide for an annual review.
I think, so according to my notes from last time, we said that it's okay that them move, but just don't move stuff without asking. That was the comment in the issue.
Sure, though, but some of this is under the select board powers and duties, and here it says they may appoint a town manager selection committee to assist them. Okay, so that's may. But the other one is shall provide for an annual review. That should be under their powers and duties, I think. 3.7. That should be there. The other one probably can go under town manager, where you say that the select board may appoint the selection committee, when we're talking about those, how that process works. But I think 3.7 belongs here, as opposed to under town manager.
The 3.7 should be under select board, under 3.
Because it's their roles and responsibilities. They have to provide an annual review.
But 3.6,
Again, speak up if
That's
people aren't in agreement.
correct, I think.
3.6, they may, now this is talking, when you talk about the town manager, how they're gonna be appointed and so on, so then you can say, well, the town manager, the select board may select a selection committee to assist them, but I don't think it's necessarily that they have to, so I don't know if it's the role and responsibility, it's more of a process of how a town manager is selected.
But I
To
thought
me,
we
it-
did say that was something that we wanted a search. committee.
Well, maybe, unless you have somebody who's assistant town manager that you know is gonna take the role, then you're not gonna go through that process.
the only reason I'd argue if it all stay together is because you have section 3.5, which is appoint and qualifications. Then
Yeah.
you have section 3.6, which is the selection committee, and 3.7, which is annual review. So there's sort of like.
It kind of flows there
It
too.
kind of flows. I could see arguments of putting them in different
Okay.
places, but you might have to be hunting
right.
through the chart.
All
to
right,
define-
I'm good with that, let's leave it.
Okay.
All right. All right, next, sorry about that, but thank you.
Oh, that's fine.
Betsy?
Mark?
School committee.
Hang on, wait a second, Mel, wait a second.
Yep,
Real quick,
Yep.
under 3.4, it says the executive powers of the town shall be vested in the select board, except as specifically provided by this charter. Should it also mention bylaws?
where are we at?
What letter you on?
3.4.
The opening paragraph, second
Yep.
sentence.
Which paragraph?
The
First
opening-
one,
The second sentence, it says, except as specifically provided by this charter, the select board shall have all the executive powers given to the select board in the general laws. So if you wanted to, you have to update the charter to change the executive powers, you can't pass a bylaw.
I don't know, I guess I need some examples of what that would be.
Yeah.
We talk about them generally, but then we list A, B, C, D through H.
No,
So
but
we
what this
specify
says
many
is-
of them, and yes, if any of those were changed, you'd have to change the charter.
So you're saying by putting in the word bylaws after
You could
charter.
adopt a bylaw rather than update the
Oh.
charter.
Correct. And then I'd also argue, can you also do that with a vote at town meeting? Which is another phrase that's in several places where it's charter, bylaw, and town meeting vote.
I don't think you can change the powers or duties. Well, the only way to do the powers or duties of the select board at town meeting is by passing a bylaw at town meeting that would change that, right?
Okay,
The bylaw would cover it.
okay.
But the right now, the only way to do it is to update this
Is a charter. So I agree with you. I think that
Yep.
or by
Or
bylaw
by
should be
bylaw.
added in there.
You want to include the word bylaws in 3.4?
Yes.
Except as specifically provided by this charter or bylaw. Okay.
We're including
Who
or
gets to,
bylaw.
who approves a, who can approve a bylaw?
Town meeting.
Majority of town meeting.
And if there's a conflict, the charter rules,
Bylaw takes precedence over
the
charter.
bylaw.
Yeah, any bylaw must be in accordance with the general provisions of the charter.
So say that again? Which rules?
Any bylaw must be in congruence with the charter.
So if you're changing something in the charter, you can't do it by bylaw then? That's what you're saying, so.
That's right, you
So then the
cannot.
bylaw wouldn't trump the charter, I wouldn't think, Mark. That's not what you're saying.
You could have certain things that say, some department is, shall have duties as provided in the bylaws. I don't really recommend you do that in a charter, but you could do that, and then that will give you the latitude to change certain things in a bylaw as opposed to charter. But remember, the charter is supposed to be hard to change for a reason.
But isn't that the reason that I think Mark's saying it, so that we can make modifications pertaining to the sweeping powers of the select board with the change by the bylaws that doesn't require us to go through the legislature of the state?
In this
I certainly-
case, but just in general, because we're specifying it here within the charter that the bylaws would be there. If you didn't specify that, I don't think that works.
Correct. So
Right.
I'm for the insertion
Right,
of it.
right.
I think Mel might be saying something, I'm hearing it a little bit different. I want to give that flexibility to our community.
Mm-hmm. I'm okay with it here, but in general, just overall, if it doesn't say that here, or bylaws, it sounds to me like you can't just overrule the charter with a bylaw, otherwise there's no reason having a charter, because,
Unless you,
right?
unless you place it
Right, unless you
here.
place it in here. Okay, all right. All right,
Okay.
what else you got?
We talked about that licensing thing, school department. Okay, I guess we're going to the school committee. The one area we did is we added the word evaluate, or a new phrase, evaluate the performance of the superintendent. I believe it was requested.
Can I go,
And not many other changes there.
Hang on, Rob.
can I just
We
ask,
did make it very
Hang
clear.
on,
that
Mel,
it's-
wait a minute. What did you got, Rob?
on 41A, is this the new phrasing that we want to embrace? We got into some of this
Yep,
needing phrase, and now there's this consistent utilization throughout the rest of the document, with one exception we'll bring up later. But
yep.
is this where we want elected by and from the voters?
No. You said by the voters, right? Or just elected? What did we say? I'm trying to remember.
By the voters, I think
By
we
the
just
voters.
decided to stick with just, because we used to have voters at
Large,
large.
right.
Everywhere, yeah.
So we just wanted to say voters,
So
We
by
dumped
the
the
voters.
at-large, I think.
by the voters.
By and from the voters at large?
What does it mean, and from?
I don't know. I don't know. By the
Well,
voters at large. 41A.
Yeah, it's, we'll make sure it's consistent.
Thank you.
I guess.
And then on 41C, at the fourth sentence down, or the fourth line down, there's a space that needed the charter, and then a space needed and bylaw.
Yeah, yep, see that?
Just continuing on C4, it needs a period at the end of the sentence.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And the last section, 4.2, that was where we wanted to explicitly exempt the school department from the town manager's authority under 6.1 of the charter. Just more belts and suspender language, I believe. Okay, going to the other elected officers, so
Do we have a
This
lot more here?
eligibility
That's
will have a
all
lot
right.
of-
Do we have a lot more to do, Mel? We just want to, be kind of conscious of everybody's time.
yeah, I know. I got,
I don't want to rush through it.
no, I don't think we should go beyond Article 3. I don't know, it's up to you guys. I don't know how much time you got, because we're taking some time on some issues for good reason.
Well, I think that Charlotte identified some different language in her comment CD4 that I don't think we've gone
Which one?
through. It appears that the big block of
Oh.
type of, opposite Article 5, and I don't think we've discussed that tonight, because there's other, it looks like you've referenced other charters, terminology, et cetera. I think that's worthy of,
Yeah, I think we should
we
stop.
barely had time to look at the document
Yeah,
today.
yeah. I think we should stop there. 'Cause unless somebody else disagrees with me. I'm not expecting it.
We
Okay.
can digest what was
Yeah,
said.
yeah, this is a lot. This is a lot.
Stop at Article 5, right?
Yeah, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop there. All right, Mel?
Yes, of
All
course.
right. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to mention before we sign off here? Going once, going twice? Go Patriots?
Just,
Yes.
I would hope that we could get to the work plan in the next meeting or
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to,
soon,
I think we'll
because
just do it for ourselves.
we just
But
need-
the trouble is that we don't really, I don't know what's in the next sections, how much time they take, so, I
I'm
know.
just,
right.
it's been drifting,
Yeah,
and I think we should try to,
yeah,
I'll make one point. At different times, we've discussed town meeting involvement and where we're at with regard to things. I think the work plan should be connected or understood by us with regard to where are we at assessment.
Yep.
Because the timeline with regard to going to print and handing off to the select board are important elements with regard to, and here we are, December already. I think they've got more or less an April 1st deadline.
Mel, are you still there? Or did you sign off?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, so are we gonna have a Zoom meeting on Monday? In which case, we can talk about the work plan. That would be a good place to put something together to have for the next meeting on the 15th.
Sure, I will, I believe that's our plan. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I thought we kind of took the next town meeting off as far as having a charter to present. I thought maybe we talked about like doing a report or doing something.
Okay, well,
but-
So
let's,
I'm open to whatever it is that
he just
we,
wants it in the
let's just
plan.
clarify.
Yeah, so we have a
clarify
plan.
what
And
it
at least
is.
a start of a plan, and then we can all work it and figure out what we gotta do. But have something down so you have something to work against, so I appreciate that. All right,
May I
yes, sir.
ask a question of Mel?
Of course.
Mel, would it be possible to turn on track changes and add page numbers to the document so that we can see what's changed time from one meeting to the other?
I'm not the editor of the document, but I will, I personally put in page numbers tonight
Okay,
into the
thanks.
document that
Thank
we're
you.
looking at, but I will check on the track changes.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome.
All right, Alan,
Move that we adjourn?
Second.
all's in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody, good night.
Go.